Hello everyone, welcome back to The Homegrown Artist. This is a video that I have been looking forward to making pretty much since I started my channel, and it is just now in the midst of summer and all of its wonderful beauty and craziness that I have had the time to actually commit to this project. A couple of weeks ago, when school was still in session and my sister and I needed something to fill the long commute to and from work, we had gone through all of the books from our favorite authors on Audible, and she discovered a book called Sorcery and Cecilia, or The Enchanted Chocolate Pot, and it is a fantasy, magical book series set in the Regency period. When the average person thinks of the Regency period, myself included, it brings to mind sky-high empire waistlines, a lot of high-class fancy parties during the season, and romance. It is a very romanticized period in history, and it's been very popular lately because of the show Bridgerton, but my favorite Regency romance is, of course, Pride and Prejudice.
Only call me Mrs. Darcy when you are completely and perfectly and incandescently happy.
This sort of reignited our desire to begin making our historical wardrobe, and this is the first step. She found a Regency Chemise pattern. It's on Sense and Sensibility Patterns, or Sense and Sensibility Clothing. The instructions that came with the pattern are very, very clear, very, very well stated. I have not really ever sewn anything, and I've never sewn a piece of clothing wearable by any human. I am eager to see if I can manage to turn this bedsheet into a Regency chemise. You guys are probably gonna see a lot of like this angle of my house. Let's get started. Once we had everything printed out, we had to go through and look at all of the numbers and letters labeled on each piece of paper, line them up, and tape them together. Now, the pattern that we had came with a chemisette and a pattern for stays as well, but we just used the pattern for the long chemise. Okay, so I've gotten the patterns folded down to the size that I needed to be folded down to. So my sister already cut out her fabric using the pattern size for her. Instead of going ahead and cutting it there, I just folded it under. I went around, and around the curves I just cut little notches so that I could fold it under, so that, you know, if we need to fold it back out to check the other size or use a different size, then we don't have to reprint anything. That's all I'm gonna get done tonight because I'm very tired. So hopefully this won't take too long to get together, and I'm gonna pick this back up tomorrow after church, probably. Cutting it out was a little bit difficult because the only space large enough to do this on a flat surface was the floor, and it was even more so difficult because I did not wash or dry or iron any of this before cutting it out. I only ironed it after I had already cut it out and was about to sew everything together. Right about here is the exact moment I realized I would need to cut out new sleeves, because one side of the sleeve that I had cut had actually the hem of the bed sheet on it and would have made things really awkward to sew together. I love you. And here I am struggling to pin the pattern to the fabric. With my new sleeves cut out, I had to mark on the fabric so that I would be able to match up the correct sides of the sleeves with the sides of the gusset. Okay, so it's time. So you attach the tops of the sleeves, like the tops of the thing, together first. You're supposed to feld the seam. Very stormy outside, and I'm saying all these things having only really just learned what they mean. I already have messed up. I've never used a sewing machine by myself. I feel embarrassed to say that. It's something that I've just not really ever learned. Okay, listen, that might just stay there. Thread the needle, thread the needle, threaded the needle. Heck yeah. Okay, it's time to fertilize? No, felled with a D, felled the seams. So I'm gonna do that with a top stitch, which I totally knew the entire time I was doing this project what a top stitch was, and didn't have to try to Google it and then realize the internet was out and then ask my sister what a top stitch was and then realize, oh, that was pretty self-explanatory. So I'm gonna felled the seam and then get to work on the sleeveys. Done! I'm just kidding. You know, I could just leave it like this. It's very tunic-y, I think. I could just tie a belt around my waist and call it a day. I think this is gonna be far bigger than I'd imagined because I think I cut a little extra. And also, I realized, so this is the front or the back? I'm not sure. Oh, this is the back? No, the front. Okay, the front is the one that I messed up when I cut it because I did not iron my fabric or wash and dry. I dried it. I was impatient and I didn't wash it or iron it before. So what happened is this little part down here, and I left this part on the edge of the sheet. I don't know if I should have done that. I liked it and I thought, hey, then I won't have to hem it. Incorrect. I am going to have to at least hem the front because the way it was so wrinkled when I was cutting it and when I was lining it up with a pattern. I thought I could overpower it. I thought I could just power through and cut a straight line on a wrinkled piece of fabric. And it turns out that I could not, and this part down here is lopsided. Now there's extra fabric and I cut it crooked. So I'm not gonna worry about it right now. All I have to do now is get the sleeves on, figure out the gusset, which I found a good visual for me because I'm such a visual person that reading some of the instructions doesn't translate well to my brain. And I did a little bit of research and found some pictures that give me a better example of what the gusset is going to look like so that I actually can visualize it and understand what the instructions mean. I think the next step is to start sewing on the sleeves. Okay, I almost made the fatal mistake of not pinning the right sides together. I had just pinned them a random side together, but I went back and then got my sister to help me figure out how it worked and fix it. So this is sleeve one pinned, and then it'll flip over like that, and ideally there will be a sleevey that will be ready for a gusset, and if not, then I will run away. I made gussets! I'm talking a little bit quieter because I think my mom is taking a nap. But I am very proud of myself. Now they look a bit wonky and they are not the same fabric as the rest of the chemise because I messed up the original gussets that I cut out and had to use some of my sister's fabric. And so it's not, I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but it's not exactly the same color. It's slightly off, so it may look like I have eternal pit stains, but they're in. I have never sewn a gusset before. It was a little confusing doing the first one, but once I understood the way that it worked, it made a lot more sense. I think all that's left to do is finish up the neck and then fix the side seams and get that finished. And I know I'll have to go back and fix the hem mistake that I talked earlier, but other than that, we're almost done, I think. Here I am measuring out and getting ready to iron the bias tape for the neckline, and my biggest question is, why is it called bias tape? Honestly, it felt like pinning the bias tape down took an eternity. We had a slight mishap while my mom was pulling the cord through. She was pulling the cord through the neckline while I was making us some lunch. This little edge right there where that turn in the neckline is, I didn't have it in the binding far enough, so when I stitched it, it didn't catch and it unraveled a little bit. So I'm gonna unstitch that portion right there and go back and make sure that that is secure before finishing it up. She's done. I cannot express how overjoyed I am, first of all, to have finished this. Second of all, to have actually done this. I am ecstatic. I've never been so happy to look a little bit like a hospital patient. It turned out far better than I thought, and I was worried about it being too big, but I think it's fine because cinching up the neck helped with the silhouette, helped with the shape, and I knew it would, but it was just hard to visualize that in the very beginning. And so not only can this be used as like a nightgown or historical chemise, but it can be used for a lot of other things as well, and I tend to use it for a lot of other things as well, including just daily wear. Is this what birth looks like? It can be used as a shirt of sorts, even though it is technically historical, like, undergarments. Something that I probably will use it a lot for is wearing it under my skirts and using it as a shirt of sorts, because this means that I don't have to, first of all, find a way to keep a shirt tucked in, and second of all, in the winter, this is gonna be great because it will be very warm, still very cute, and I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this in and of itself. Okay, so final thoughts on this project. I am very glad that I started with this instead of doing the stays. My sister and I had already ordered the stays by the time we started this. We got them from Red Threaded, and doing this project, I learned a lot about sewing just in and of itself. Got to practice a lot of the basic skills that were new to me and understand more of the terminology. I think if you are interested in starting to sew, this is, if it's something that aligns with your interest and what you want to make, this is a great beginner's project because it's very forgiving. It is literally a bed sheet stitched in a couple of different places. The most difficult thing for me was the concept of the gussets and then the binding at the top. This was super fun, and I'm very proud of my chemise that I have made. I did that myself, had a little bit of help from my mom, but I sewed every stitch, and I'm very proud of that. This is just the first of many sewing projects that I intend to embark on. I hope that you will join me as I go on this journey of learning to make things. I hope that you enjoyed. And make sure that you like the video if you like the video, comment, subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!